So I'm sure by now we've all heard the news that Michaels has acquired the IP of the former craft store Joann Fabrics and Crafts. And with that, they have also acquired some of their yarns. It doesn't really feel like Joann's has been closed that long or that she's been dead that long, but you know, capitalism prevails, and so we have Big Twist Posh in the stores again. It's just been rebranded. So anything for companies to make money, I guess. Although this is still very exciting for those of us in the crafting community, crochet, knitting, whatever it is that you do, specifically crocheters, and specifically crochet plushie makers. Big Twist Posh was a big favorite, and I think a lot of us that were mourning the loss of Joann's were also mourning the loss of Posh. It really is like nothing else that is currently on the market. So when Michaels announced that they were re-releasing the Posh in stores this week, and it started showing up in stores this week, people kind of lost their minds, myself included, because it's so soon. I think a lot of us kind of felt like it might be too good to be true, and I think others of us, I'm talking about myself here specifically, were really scared that the Posh was not going to be the same, even though they were claiming it was the same yarn you know and love. I think a lot of us were scared, and by a lot of us I mean me, because I don't trust that craft store. I don't trust Michaels. I'm so sorry. I don't trust Michaels. But I did go down to my store, and lo and behold, they had Posh. So I bought it. Let's try it and rate it 1 through 10. No, I'm kidding. I did buy some, and I thought in this video we could test it out, do a little yarn review, and answer the question, is Michaels Posh the same as Joann's Posh? Or is it an entirely different yarn? That's what we're going to find out today. I've decided the best way to test these out and see whether or not they compare to each other and if they're the same yarn or not is to make the same plushie twice. So that's what we're going to do. We are going to be making the Clown Cat plushie from Bibu Bear Crochet. I picked this one for a couple different reasons. One, it's super cute and I love it. Two, I've made it a ton, so I'm pretty familiar with it, and I know how the Posh yarn behaves when I make a clown cat out of this yarn. And three, it is a bigger, more involved plushie, so it does require sewing, and it will be a great way to test how the yarn actually holds up when you have to sew it, when you have to make little pieces, bigger pieces, decreasing, increasing, all of that. So that's kind of my thought process behind picking this pattern, and yeah, I don't really have anything else more to say, so let's just get into it. I lied, I do. If you're new here, hi, I'm Allison. It's nice to meet you. I am a full-time crochet artist and content creator based in the Columbia, South Carolina area. I do primarily specialize in making Ami projects. I do a lot of plushie making and stuffed animal making, and I primarily sell them at different conventions around the Southeast in order to make my living. So I have a lot of experience making and selling plushies. If you're interested in any of that, you know where buttons are. But for now, we are going to test out this Posh yarn from Michaels and see whether or not it's too good to be true or not. So let's get into it. Okay, so here are all the colors of the yarn that I ended up picking up at Michaels. I ended up picking up 4 of the colors that they had, and I wanted to make sure that I also had them all in the Big Twist Posh as well. So here I am holding everything together. This is both the Michaels and the Joann's Posh all together. So all of these yarns, both the Big Twist and the loops and threads, are classified as a bulky 5 weight, and they're all made out of 100% polyester. All of them were manufactured in Vietnam, but on the labels there isn't any additional information about like the manufacturer itself. It just says that it was manufactured in Vietnam. I'm gonna assume that they're both manufactured by the same person, but I could be wrong. I don't know. The label information between the two of them is basically identical, including your gauge swatches and the hook needle size information that is on both the Big Twist and loops and thread labels. And you get the exact same amount in both as well. You get 200 grams in each, and they both cost the same. So both are $9.99 at full price, but both stores also had coupons that will affect the overall price of what you will pay for this, but we will circle back to that, so put a pin in that. So the very first color that I ended up getting was this really pretty mint color, which is just called mint. The big twist version of this color is called Mint Chip, and it's a really nice mint color. I don't really know what else to say about it. These two look really close to each other in my opinion. I think color and texture wise, they look pretty much identical, and they feel pretty much identical as well, which I think is great. I also ended up having 2 different balls of this mint chip color from Joann's. I had a full one, and then I had a little like cake from a skein that I had previously used. So I went ahead and used that to compare to the new Loops and Threads version as well. And I think they both look great compared to the new Posh. I think they all pretty much look exactly the same, and I don't really think you can tell a difference between the color or the texture of these at all. The next color that I ended up getting is this white color, which in the Loops and Thread version is just called white. The Joann Big Twist version is called Whipped Cream, which I am really sad that they went back to just calling it plain white. I feel like a lot of the times the black and white versions of yarns never get fun names, which they both had fun names in the Big Twist Posh version, and I will really miss that, but that's more of a personal anecdote than anything. Once again, I will say this one feels really nice, and I think it looks really great compared to the original Joann's Posh white color. I will say, at least with this one in the store, I did have to dig through the stock that they had out in order to find one that felt nice and soft and didn't feel really rough. I'm not sure if that's a dye thing or if that's a manufacturing issue. Color number 3 is this really pretty light purple color called Lilac. The Big Twist version of this is called Ube Milk Tea, which I think is just such a cute name. Personally, I think this one has one of the bigger color differences between the 2 brands. I still think they're really similar to each other, but I think you can tell that the Joann's Big Twist one is slightly darker, maybe slightly more cool toned than the Loops and Threads Lilac is. That is also probably a dye lot issue. Texture wise, I do think that the Big Twist from Joann's is slightly softer than the Loops and Threads from Michael's is, but I'm not sure if that is specific to this skein of yarn or not. Once again, put a pin in that and we will circle back to it in just a moment when we talk about the last color. And then the last and 4th color that I got was this really pretty light yellow. Loops and Threads calls this color lemon, and Big Twist called this color lemon meringue. I think this comparison is very similar to the purple in a lot of different regards. First of all, the color difference I think is also pretty noticeable, with the Joann's Big Twist being a lot darker than the Michael's Loops and Threads. I also think that the Big Twist from Joann's is significantly softer than the yellow Loops and Threads Posh is, which out of the 4 that I did end up getting, I do think that the yellow felt the roughest out of this lot. I still think that there were some of the white skeins at the store that I left behind that did feel a little bit rougher than this yellow I ended up purchasing. I think you can really tell the difference here if you look at this strand comparison. I did also happen to have a second ball of the Joann Lemon Meringue Posh from Big Twist, so I also brought that out to compare as well. And as you can see, I think this second Big Twist Posh ball that I brought out resembles the Loops and Threads texture a lot more. I think the color is also a closer match, and I think overall the first initial skein that I was using is way different, and that one is one of the Big Twist ones. So I also wanted to bring out some other common chenille yarns that are a pretty similar size and that people in the Crochet Ami community talk about in the same conversations and the same circles as the Posh yarn. yarn. So first we have Hobie Honey Bunny. This one is technically classified as a super bulky 6 weight, and one skein of this yarn is 100 grams and retails for $9. Here's a strand comparison of it with the yellow Loops and Threads Posh, and I think you can definitely tell that texture difference. And I also went ahead and brought out a skein of Parfait Chunky. Parfait Chunky is classified as a bulky 5, so the same as Posh. This one is also manufactured in Turkey. One skein of Parfait Chunky will cost you $4.99 for 100 grams, and here it is compared to the Loops and Threads Posh. And then here is all 3 of them together, so you can see all of them at the same time. So far, first impressions. I really like it. It is in fact working up to basically feel just like Posh. It's really nice to work with. It's gliding really easily over my hook, at least this white color is anyway, and I'm a fan. I made the Posh version of this cat last night, so it really hasn't been that long since I've worked with the Joann's Posh. I really like this. I really like this, which makes me so happy. I started the purple. I tied the purple on, and I'm about to do the body repeats for this clown cat. And the purple is really nice. It is also really easy to work with. My hook is going really smooth with this yarn, 4.5. I'm using the same size that I used for the Big Twist Posh. I do think, at least looking at this unstuffed, it might be working up a little bit smaller, but I am interested to see what the difference will be like once I stuff it. So I guess the whole point of this video was to answer the question of, is the Michaels Big Twist yarn the same as the Joann's Big Twist yarn? And me, based on my experience and like crocheting these 2 plushies and everything, I'm gonna say yes, but like with an asterisk. I'm gonna say yes. However, this does tend to work up smaller, at least compared to the Posh yarn that I have. So I do think it behaves really similarly. I just think this one is a little bit thinner. It's not quite as soft as some of the original Posh from Big Twist was. I think for the most part, I am gonna say this is pretty much the same yarn, which I am super excited to say. I'm really happy with how both of these yarns performed. I love my OG Posh, and I'm really excited that there is an option for people who weren't able to pick any up in any of the clearance sales. I know currently Michaels only has, I think, about 8 colors out at the time of filming this at least, but I'm hoping maybe in the future that there will be more colors manufactured and we'll get back up to whatever that full range that we had at the end of the Joann's closing sales. I am really happy. I hope this was helpful. I hope this was entertaining in some way, but mostly I just kind of hope it was helpful for those of you out there who were looking for the Big Twist Posh and wanted to see if it was the same or not. I think it is. Again, my personal opinion based on my experiences and the way that I crochet might be different for you, but I would recommend, if you think that you liked the Big Twist Posh, I would recommend going out and buying a ball or 2 and checking it out and seeing if you are interested in it. At the time of filming this, it's still not up on the website, but I will leave stuff down below for like if it does ever pop up by the time I'm editing this. I kind of doubt it, but if it does show up, it'll be down below. I'll go back and edit it later, hopefully. Thank you guys again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Let me know if you liked this. If you want more yarn reviews, let me know. Okay, bye.